has AEW gone too far? Are they desperate for ratings, grabbing at straws? That's what today's debate is going to be this time on Ring the Bell. All right, folks, we're back here. I am Matthew, the Professor Lambert, and today I'm acting as mediator on this fourth episode of Ring the Bell, and we got a hot one here. This past week on Dynamite, we saw the debut in AEW of the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Woo! So here's the topic.
Disaster.
Is this a move reeking of desperation by AEW, bringing in arguably the greatest wrestler of all time?
Not arguably. I mean, he's on the Mount Rushmore.
I mean, CM, yeah, but
He's
you
on
know,
Mount Rushmore.
CM Punk or John Cena's right there.
Oh my gosh.
CM Punk.
I got to see Cena's right there. His daughter's right there. I mean, she could become the best if we're counting championships as what counts as the best.
right.
I mean,
You're getting in a totally different argument here. All right,
you had to
arguably,
get me going on it.
arguably the greatest wrestler of all time. Dan is on the camp of AEW is desperate for ratings. So let's hear it.
It's a desperate move. I mean, first off, I was told I have to go first because Jeremy's trying to pull all the. Apparently, he's gone first. All the other episodes.
I don't believe this is a defensible position.
Defend yourself.
And Matt can't say anything. We're not doing any tornado or no handicap matches here. Okay, it's Dan and Jeremy. So the reality is, it is definitely an act of desperation. I have been all over this for the past couple weeks. We've all seen the headlines. AEW is not doing well. I've said it over and over and over again. Attendance, ratings, whatever you want, injuries, whatever you want to call it, they're going through all of it at one time. And it's, you know, you can call it the fall blues, and wrestling's not that entertaining in the fall. That could be the, but have we not all seen the pictures? I know you've seen the pictures. You don't have to admit it, but I know you've seen the pictures online of Edge on the turnbuckle with nobody behind him. And I know that could be just the angle, but nobody's there. Okay, or when Joe Samoa comes out, or whatever his name is, comes out, and he's walking around, no one there. We've all seen the photos, and now look at ratings. Yeah, they maybe had a decent week last week, but they've been down for the past couple weeks. 800,000, not good. 660,000, not good. And you can say what you want. Edge showing up has not helped. Okay? It has not given them the bump they want. So what do? Sting's retiring. The classic storyline that I'm so tired of hearing about. Hulk Hogan retired, and it was a whole thing. Everyone had to come out and shake Hulk Hogan's hand. Now we're doing it for Sting. A guy who I don't like in the first place. Never care for the WCW guys. But that's just my opinion. But out comes the Nature Boy. Woo! Ric Flair, right? He comes walking down. I mean, the crowd reaction was pretty good. I'll give it that. It was very good. But here's where it's going to hit the bottom. Is that today, or I don't know if the ratings are out yet or not, it's not going to do anything. They didn't announce it. They gave no pep talk about it. He walked in. It was a clear act of desperation to keep the buzz going about AEW. I also think it was some kind of retaliation because Tony Khan's been on a meltdown for 3 weeks. Ever since the whole debacle on the Tuesday Night Wars at NXT, he's trying to stick it right to Triple H, and bringing Ric Flair on is sticking it to Triple H. So this is nothing more than a desperate move. No. Does Ric Flair and Triple H not like this? They're like they're untouchable when they're together. They're like I mean, come on. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, you can say I'm wrong. But the reality is, it was a big act of desperation, not only for buzz, but to try to get ratings. And I can't even say attendance because I'm sure the attendance wasn't good there in the first place. But I'll leave it at that. Bring in the almighty Jeremy now to try to argue that it wasn't some kind of act of desperation by AEW, but just a respect for Sting and to really honor him. Come on, give me a break.
Share your rebuttal.
If this was an act of desperation, you're a business owner, Dan. You're a business owner. You've got Ric Flair coming here to the shop, but you don't announce it to anybody. You don't tell anybody he's going to be here. Does that make any sense? What is that going to do to fix the two problems that you identified in your tirade? It's not going to drive attendance up. I'll bet you attendance would have been a heck of a lot higher if he'd said in advance Ric Flair would have been there. I'll bet you the pop wouldn't have been nearly as good. There was a reason why the pop was really good, because nobody knew he was going to be there. That means it's not a sign of desperation. If they were desperate, they would have done what we all agree WWE did with NXT during the Tuesday Night Wars, and they announced the entire card well in advance. We knew Undertaker was going to be there before he showed up. We knew John Cena was going to be there before he showed up. We knew well, she's holding the title, but we knew Becky was going to be there before she showed up. We knew what the entirety of the card was going to be before anybody showed up. That is how you know that that was a sign of desperation. It was a desperate ploy to beat AEW with their hand tied behind their back because they were moving to a Tuesday night. That's a sign of desperation. They were desperate to beat them. I don't see how this is a sign of desperation. Doesn't have anything to do with respect. Yeah, it tugged on everybody's heartstrings. Remember the good old WCW days when Ric Flair and Sting used to have these epic battles? And this is 100% true. That's 100% true. Had nothing to do with an act of desperation. This is a gift. This is a gift that Tony Khan is giving to Sting to let him go out. Now, if they try and pitch some kind of Sting versus Ric Flair as a retirement match, that is an act of desperation. And that is sad, pitiful desperation. Neither one of those two men should be anywhere near a wrestling ring, except for maybe on commentary, if you're Ric Flair. That would be a sign of desperation.
Ric Flair couldn't even get in the ring.
But either Sting sold it great or he genuinely was surprised. When you look at his reaction, I do not think that he expected Ric Flair to be there.
Yeah, I thought he was surprised.
At all. Which means it truly was a gift. It was a gift that he was giving. If he wanted it to drive up ratings, to fix the attendance, he would have announced it at least a week in advance. He would have said, be prepared, Ric Flair is going to be here to make a major announcement. It's the same thing they do with almost everything else. Everything else has leaked. Everything. Adam Copeland's going to show up. We all knew in advance it was going to happen. CM Punk's going to be there. We all knew in advance it was going to happen. Everything leaks. This did not leak. Therefore, it is not a sign of desperation.
I will agree with you on one thing. What makes a great return is not knowing about it. Makes a fantastic return. And to be fair, no one knew about Ric Flair coming.
There's the quick pop, and then that's going to be it.
Right.
Ric Flair coming back next week isn't going to drive up ratings anymore. This literally was a gift. This was a gift to Sting. That's all that this was.
First, I'm a big fan of returns in any promotion whatsoever. When people make a big return, but having a surprise return is definitely better than having one that's advertised. That said, there's such a thing as desperation and having Ric Flair there for the buzz that comes after it. Look,
there's no buzz.
Jeremy.
Buzz for what? Buzz for what? What are you looking forward to?
We
next
all
week?
know about Tony Khan, right? We all know. See, the word. No. The word on the street now is that AEW is getting desperate. So the fact that Tony Khan's not a dumb guy.
As evidenced by what?
By evidence of everything. Look
what?
at
Give me one example.
All these people coming and going, surprise returns, announcing this, trying to do that, him going on and having meltdown. It's all like they know it. Everyone can see the writing on the wall. I mean, look, any true AEW fan knows that the morale is down. Sorry, Matt. You got it. I mean, they're taking some bumps the last couple weeks. Okay. The reality is, Tony Khan knows. Tony Khan's not dumb. So him acting like it's some kind of surprise return that makes it look like it's not an act of desperation. These guys spend. They are in this business, Jeremy. They know how to act where it doesn't look like they're being desperate. And a surprise return of Ric Flair, out of all people, why not have Hulk Hogan come out?
Because Hulk Hogan didn't feud with Sting for a decade.
I still think it's just as symbolic if it's Ric Flair or Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan is still tied down, I think, to a Legends contract
and
in
he
WWE.
got booed just by the mention of his name last week.
His name is pretty.
Nobody wants
I'm
to see
simply
Hulk
going to
Hogan.
say, I think it was an act of desperation, and I think it was an act of publicity. There's a lot of things going on there. People know,
His son-in-law works for the promotion. There's another connection.
Rather it's, on screen or not, Triple H and Ric Flair have a very close relationship.
This is not a thumb in Triple H's
You got to start looking at that.
It is not.
No, Tony Khan was deliberately calling out Vince McMahon in text messages.
An idiot? You think Ric Flair's going to allow himself to get used
Ric Flair
like that?
also wants to have another match, so you tell me if he's...
No.
He could not even get into the ring yesterday. They had to cut away so Sting could help him in the ring. No, am I wrong?
No, what I'm saying is
he could not get in the ring.
You're acting like they're setting up a match, and I don't
I'm
think
not
they're
saying
setting up
I'm not saying they're trying to say you were trying to say he's a smart guy, and I said he's trying to do another match.
He is
How
a smart
is
guy.
that?
He knows the business.
He may know the business, but
Are we going to pretend Ric Flair doesn't know the business? Come on.
You cannot sit and tell me that that wasn't any type of act of desperation by Tony Khan. Don't buy
No
it.
desperation.
Oh, he has a great excuse for it. It's retirement for Sting, but it's still an act of
It's
desperation.
months before his retirement match. This doesn't
Then
build to anything.
then why
It's
have
just
him
a
come out?
gift.
Then why have him come out this week out of all weeks? Why not have him come out his final match?
Weren't they in like Memphis or something? Where were they?
This week they were in. I can't remember. I gotta look.
So let me ask you a question. Just in case this is up, so what happens if Tony Khan has someone that comes out every week to celebrate Sting's retirement? Are you gonna tell me it's not an act of desperation?
That depends on who they bring out and
So
why
let's
they
say
bring
next
them
week
out.
Goldberg shows up to give support to Sting, okay, and his retirement trail. You're
If Goldberg
If?
shows up, if a guy like Goldberg shows up and it isn't to further the storyline of his retirement match,
No.
then it is a sign
no,
of
no, no. Let's
desperation.
just say they're doing what they're doing. Goldberg shows up
Because a guy
unannounced
like
just to
Goldberg-
give tribute.
Because a guy,
And then the week after that, it's Hulk Hogan.
God.
And the week after that, it's Scott Steiner. And the week after that,
none
it's
of that would
anyone
work.
else. Kurt
None of-
Angle.
None of
Or-
that. No, none of that. It wouldn't be a surprise, and it wouldn't drive. It would do none of the things. Then yes, if you had a link, I would agree with you. If there were if there was a link of 5 weeks in a row in which we had a goodbye tour, and everybody and all the people that the main event mafia people, if Kurt Angle made an appearance out there, then I would be like, yeah, okay, there's a pattern here. And none of them are forwarding any kind of storyline. Yeah, absolutely, it's not a gift anymore.
And
it's an
I
act
will
of
expect you to
desperation.
walk in here when that happens.
It is not gonna
and
happen.
say, Dan, you are absolutely right. This was an act of desperation.
And by the way, just because that those 5 represent an act of desperation doesn't mean this one is an act of.
And I'm sorry, Tony Khan hasn't known Sting that long to be giving him some big celebration. I
Dude,
mean,
he's
come
his
on.
childhood hero. What do you mean he doesn't known somebody that long?
WCW stuff.
For the
Let's not-
record, they were in
Listen.
Philly this week.
They were in Philly.
That's it. This has gone on too long.
All right. Well,
Who
just
won?
for-
You decide.
for the record, there were plans to bring Flair in a couple years ago until that Dark Side of the Ring episode dropped, and then they canceled their plans. So, just food for thought.
Desperation.
So, folks, comment down below. Decide who here is right.
Me.
Is Dan right and AEW's acting desperately, or is Jeremy right? And this was just a feel-good moment
A
for
gift.
retiring Sting.
A gift.
And be sure to check out, this video drops on Tuesday. Be sure to check out our main show, which dropped on Friday, to hear my opinion on this matter. But until then, you keep watching. We'll keep wrestling with business.